When we picture Athena, we often see the serene goddess of wisdom, the calm strategist, the measured patron of civilization, arts, and literature. Her image is one of divine intellect and controlled reason. But what if this familiar portrait obscures a far more terrifying origin? What if her birth was not a miracle of wisdom, but the final brutal act in a cosmic war, born from paranoia, violence, and the ultimate patriarchal power move? The story of how Athena came to be reveals a dark secret about the very foundation of the Olympian world order. Now, let's open the ancient texts and decode the true story of this timeless myth. Our primary guide for this investigation is the ancient Greek poet Hesiod and his monumental work, the Theogony, composed around the 8th century BCE. This text is more than a storybook. It's a systematic theological and cosmological map, aiming to bring order to the chaos of myth, and most importantly, to legitimize the absolute sovereignty of Zeus. It is here that we get the most vivid and authoritative account of Athena's birth. The narrative is as shocking as it is bizarre. Zeus, the king of the gods, is suddenly seized by a splitting, unbearable headache. The pain becomes so immense that he cries out for Hephaestus, the smith god, who arrives with his tools. At Zeus's command, Hephaestus takes his heavy bronze axe and strikes his king's head, cleaving the skull open. From this violent wound, a figure emerges, not a helpless infant, but a fully grown woman in shining armor, brandishing a spear and unleashing a war cry so powerful that it shakes the heavens and the earth. This is Pallas Athena, born not from a womb, but from the mind of the Father. This act is a profound and deliberate violation of the natural order. In virtually every mythological and biological system, birth is the exclusive domain of the female. Yet here, we witness the male skyfather usurping the very process of creation, relocating it from the womb to the intellect. When we analyze this, it becomes clear that this is no mere fanciful tale. It is a powerful ideological statement. The myth forces us to ask a crucial question. What kind of cultural or political crisis could motivate the creation of a story that so radically subverts the fundamental laws of life? Why was it so important for the ancient Greeks to imagine a goddess of wisdom who completely bypasses maternal generation? To answer this, we must look beyond the birth itself and place it within its proper context. The brutal history of divine succession. The Greek cosmos, as detailed by Hesiod, is built upon a foundation of patricide. The first sky god, Ouranos, was overthrown and castrated by his son, the Titan Kronos. Kronos, in turn, lived in terror of a prophecy that he would be overthrown by his own child, a fear that drove him to swallow his children whole. He was, of course, eventually defeated by his son, Zeus. Upon taking the throne, Zeus is not a benevolent ruler, but a paranoid one, haunted by the very cycle he perpetuated. His every action is driven by a singular, obsessive goal: to break the chain of succession and ensure his reign is eternal. Every marriage, every affair, and every child becomes a strategic calculation in this cosmic game of thrones. Athena's birth is not an isolated event. It is the final triumphant move in Zeus's cosmic chess match, the masterstroke that ends the cycle of father-son violence for good. That desperate need to secure his throne was not an abstract fear. It was given a specific name and a face. Before his marriage to Hera, the queen we are most familiar with, Zeus's first consort was the Titaness Metis. Her name is one of the most important keys to this entire myth. In ancient Greek, Metis is not just simple wisdom. It is a specific kind of cunning, practical intelligence, a strategic craftiness that combines knowledge with action. It is the quality that allows Odysseus to outwit the Cyclops and the Greeks to build the Trojan horse. Metis personified this power, and in marrying her, Zeus allied himself with the very concept of strategic thought. Yet, as Hesiod tells us, this alliance made her the single greatest threat to his rule. She was his equal in intellect, and for a paranoid king, an equal is simply a future rival. The source of his strength was also the potential source of his downfall. The prophecy that sealed her fate came from the most ancient authorities imaginable: Gaia, the earth, and Ouranos, the sky. They revealed to Zeus the future that Metis carried within her. First, she would give birth to a daughter, the bright-eyed Tritogeneia, an old name for Athena, who would be equal to her father in strength and in wise understanding. This, while perhaps unsettling, was manageable. But the prophecy continued. After the daughter, Metis would bear a son, a child destined to possess an overmastering heart, who would one day become the king of both gods and men. For Zeus, who had clawed his way to the throne by overthrowing his own father, this was not just a warning, it was a death sentence. The cycle of patricide he so desperately sought to end was poised to begin anew. The question was not if he would act, but how. Zeus's solution is one of the most chilling and strategically brilliant acts in all of Greek mythology. He does not banish Metis or engage her in open conflict. Instead, he uses her own defining quality, her cleverness, against her. He approaches the pregnant Metis with crafty words and lulls her into a false sense of security. He then proposes a game of shape-shifting, challenging her to change her form. When, in a display of her power, she transforms into a tiny fly, Zeus seizes his moment and swallows her whole. With this single, horrifying act of consumption, the threat is neutralized. The pregnant goddess is now imprisoned within the body of her husband, becoming, as Hesiod writes, his personal advisor, a voice of wisdom from within his own being. This is the terrifying secret behind Athena's birth. She is the child of a consumed mother. By swallowing Metis, Zeus achieves two critical objectives. First, he immediately halts the prophecy. The son who would overthrow him can now never be conceived, let alone born. The cycle is broken. But second, and far more profoundly, he performs an act of divine appropriation. He does not destroy feminine wisdom. He absorbs it, making it an inextricable part of his own masculine authority. He internalizes Metis, ensuring that no one, god or mortal, can ever use that power against him again. From this point on, Zeus is not just the strongest god, he is the wisest. He has literally become both father and mother to his unborn child. Athena's eventual birth from his head is no longer just a strange miracle. It is the inevitable, biological consequence of this cosmic theft, the emergence of a child from the only womb left available to her. The consequences of Zeus's horrific act of consumption are now made manifest in the most dramatic way possible. With Metis imprisoned within him, the process of gestation is transferred from the feminine body to the masculine mind. This is a radical and profoundly symbolic shift. The birth of Athena from Zeus's head is the physical enactment of a new ideological principle, that creation, wisdom, and power are no longer rooted in the chthonic, elemental forces embodied by goddesses like Gaia, but are now products of pure, divine, masculine intellect. When Hephaestus swings his axe, he is not merely curing a headache, he is acting as a midwife for a new world order. The axe itself is a potent symbol, a tool of both creation and destruction. It is what allows a craftsman to hew order from raw material, but it is also a weapon. Its use here frames Athena's birth as a violent, unnatural cesarean, a deliberate severing that bypasses all traditional forms of generation. This is not a birth of nurturing and life-giving, but one of force and intellectual will. Once the skull is split, Athena emerges, not as a vulnerable child, but as a fully formed adult, clad in gleaming armor and brandishing a spear. This iconography is absolutely crucial to decoding her purpose. Her immediate state is one of martial readiness. She is born for battle, her very essence fused with the instruments of war. This is not a goddess who will ever be defined by fertility, motherhood, or the domestic sphere. Her identity is forged in the context of conflict and the projection of power. Her famous war cry, which shakes the cosmos, is not the cry of a newborn, but the proclamation of a new kind of divine force. She is, in essence, the physical manifestation of Zeus's strategic mind, his Metis, given form and purpose. She is his will, weaponized. The armor she wears serves as a second skin, signifying that her nature is inherently defensive and offensive, always prepared to protect the established order. When we deconstruct these symbols, the skull, the axe, the armor, a clear and cohesive ideological message comes into focus. The myth systematically strips the creative act of its feminine origins. The mind replaces the womb. A violent tool replaces the natural process of labor. A warrior replaces the child. This is the ultimate expression of a patriarchal worldview, a story designed to legitimize a social and cosmic structure where the male principle is the sole source of legitimate authority in creation. Athena is the perfect daughter of this new system because she has no maternal allegiance. She has no mother to honor or avenge. Her loyalty is singular and absolute, directed entirely toward the father from whom she was born. This makes her utterly unique among the gods and fundamentally trustworthy to the paranoid Zeus. She is not a potential rival, but the ultimate guarantor of his reign. Her wisdom is his wisdom. Her strength is his strength. She is the living embodiment of patriarchal power. A goddess created by a god to serve a god's world. This singular, unwavering loyalty makes Athena more than just a daughter. It makes her the primary political instrument for securing her father's eternal rule. When we view her birth through a political lens, the myth transforms from a strange family drama into a foundational charter for the entire Olympian regime. This is a masterful piece of theological propaganda, crafted to solve the single most pressing issue that haunted the Greek cosmos, the violent and seemingly endless cycle of succession. The universe, as the Greeks understood it, had been defined by a pattern of sons overthrowing fathers. Zeus himself was the third in this bloody dynasty. His entire reign is therefore predicated on one central challenge: how to become the final king, the absolute and permanent authority. The birth of Athena is his definitive answer. It is the political act that puts a full stop at the end of a long history of cosmic rebellion. The mechanism by which her birth achieves this is both simple and ingenious. By consuming the pregnant Metis, Zeus surgically removes the greatest threat to his power, the prophesied son who would one day take his throne. In producing only the daughter, he brilliantly manipulates the terms of the prophecy. Athena is, as foretold, his equal in strength and wisdom, making her a powerful ally. Yet, as a female in a patriarchal divine structure, she presents no direct dynastic threat. The kingship of the gods is a male inheritance. She is not in the line of succession. This clever maneuver allows Zeus to have it both ways. He gains the powerful offspring, prophesied by Gaia, but eradicates the challenger. Athena's existence thus serves as a constant living monument to Zeus's cunning, his Metis, and his ultimate victory over fate itself. She is the daughter who can never usurp him, ending the cycle of patricide forever. With the threat of succession neutralized, Athena's role becomes that of the chief enforcer of the new Olympian order. Her divine portfolios are perfectly tailored for this purpose. She is the goddess of strategic warfare, the controlled and intelligent application of force necessary to maintain a state. This stands in stark contrast to her half-brother Ares, who represents the chaotic, brutal, and self-serving bloodlust of battle. Where Ares is a force of cosmic disruption, Athena is the champion of the polis, the civilized city-state. She embodies the ideal of using might to protect and uphold the law, her father's law. Her wisdom is not abstract philosophy. It is the practical wisdom required for governance, craft, and civic life. She is the patron of the heroes who, like Odysseus, use intelligence to impose order on a monstrous world. In every aspect, she is an agent of structure, her power aimed at cementing the civilized world that Zeus now rules. Ultimately, Athena's birth represents the triumph of a new kind of cosmic principle. The old world of the Titans was one of raw, elemental, and often chaotic power. The new Olympian world is one of structure, hierarchy, and law, all emanating from a single male authority. Her emergence from the head of the sovereign is the perfect allegory for this political shift. It declares that the universe will no longer be governed by primal urges or cyclical conflict, but by divine intellect, royal decree, and strategic power. As the quintessential father's daughter, Athena is the archetypal figure whose immense strength and intelligence are legitimized only through their service to the patriarchal system that created her. Her birth didn't just give the pantheon a new goddess, it gave the cosmos a new and final political settlement. This new political settlement, enforced by Athena, reverberates far beyond the divine realm, encoding a powerful and enduring model for the nature of wisdom and female authority in the mortal world. The legacy of her birth is the creation of a new kind of feminine archetype, the woman whose power is legitimized because it is derived directly from and remains loyal to the patriarchal order. The wisdom Athena champions is not the intuitive, primal, chthonic knowledge of the earth goddesses or her mother Metis. It is the rational, strategic, and civic-minded intellect of the father. She is brilliant, but her brilliance never challenges the foundations of Zeus's authority. That makes her a figure of immense power, but also one of profound compromise. She represents a path to female agency that requires a fundamental assimilation into the dominant masculine power structure. Nowhere is this legacy made more explicit than in the works of the 5th century BCE Athenian playwright Aeschylus. In his trilogy, the Oresteia, Athena presides over the trial of Orestes, who is on trial for killing his mother, Clytemnestra, to avenge his father, Agamemnon. When the jury is tied, Athena casts the deciding vote to acquit Orestes. Her justification is a direct echo of her own origin story. She declares, "No mother gave me birth. I honor the male in all things. With all my heart, I am my father's child. This is a stunning moment in Western literature, a goddess explicitly renouncing the maternal principle in favor of absolute loyalty to the paternal. The court case validates the New World Order, the law of the Olympian father, over the ancient law of bloodkin and the avenging furies who represent the old maternal order. Her birth myth is no longer just a story. It has become legal and theological precedent. This archetype became deeply embedded in the culture of her namesake city, Athens. The city revered her as its patron, celebrating her wisdom and strategic prowess. Yet its real-world society was notoriously patriarchal, with women afforded few public rights or political agency. This paradox is central to understanding Athena's legacy. She could be worshipped as a powerful female ideal, precisely because her power was understood to be an extension of, and benefit to, the male-dominated state. She was the exception that proved the rule, a goddess whose unique, motherless birth placed her outside the normal categories of womanhood, allowing her to wield authority without threatening the underlying social fabric. This ancient model of sanctioned female power, the brilliant father's daughter, remains a potent archetype in our culture today. We see echoes of it in narratives of female leaders who succeed by mastering the rules of a male-dominated system, proving their worth through logic, strategy, and a fierce loyalty to the established order. The myth of Athena's birth is therefore a cautionary tale. It presents us with a goddess of wisdom, war, and civilization. But it reminds us that this wisdom was born through the violent silencing and absorption of the feminine. It reveals that the foundations of order can be terrifying, and that some of our most celebrated symbols of intellect and strength carry a dark and complicated inheritance. The terrifying story of Athena's birth, born from a consumed mother and a cloven skull, is far more than just an ancient fable. It serves as a profound and enduring blueprint for power, order, and the complex relationship between masculine and feminine principles that is echoed through Western civilization for millennia. These myths, etched into the very bedrock of our thought, continue to challenge us, reminding us that the stories we tell about our origins profoundly shape the world we inhabit and the truths we hold sacred.